let's get into the A's. And obviously the recent move was trading Jurickson Profar away to the Padres, and that kind of opens up a really wide second base opportunity for who knows what player this will be. Franklin Barreto maybe, who's out of options. A lot of people are saying this is an everyday chance for Chad Pinder to be in the lineup. And Jorge Mateo, I also know, is on the short list of prospects that people can't wait to see. It's kind of interesting about the Oakland A's. There's not a lot of turnover, not expected to be a lot more. And the team is basically shored up, minus a key position like second base.
Well, you've got Mateo, who I got an opportunity to see, and I think he's ready to play in the big leagues. I wasn't surprised that they moved Profar. He just was not a match for this team. I do think that he is an American League type player, so
yeah.
I was kind of surprised that Texas picked him up, but maybe Texas was thinking, Preller had prior history with him, and Tingler, who is now their manager, had history with him as well. So maybe they're thinking that they might find lightning in a bottle. But I think that Mateo is ready to play. He's an exciting player to watch. Speed, power. He's a good defender. I think that it's time for him to play. Unfortunately, Barreto may get passed over again because Mateo is quite a player. I mean, he goes after it, and he does the job well. I think Chad Pinder, unfortunately, has been put in a category.
Yeah.
And I'm not too sure that he's going to be able to shed that until he leaves here, or if he gets an opportunity to leave here and play someplace else. I think as long as he's in Oakland A, he's going to be considered to be a super utility type player.
Yeah. Well, and he does well at it, right? And that's kind of the catch-22. He does so well at it that people say, well, I see him and I like him and I want more of him, maybe on an everyday basis. How about what the A's got from the Padres in that Profar trade? Austin Allen, the catcher, had a really good season last year at AAA, hit for average, hit for power. But, if they now go with the tandem of Allen and Sean Murphy, that's two very young catchers. And obviously, I do want to ask about the pitching rotation. Fiers, Minaya, Puck, Luzardo, Frankie Montas, and Chris Bassett maybe. There's a lot of young pitchers. Can you have a two-catcher tandem that's that young?
Ideally, you probably don't want it. Ideally, you'd like to have your secondary guy to be a little bit more mature.
Yeah.
To help. I mean, Murphy obviously is going to handle that staff
right
to his advantage.
Right.
A lot of these guys he's handled in the minor leagues, and so it's not like he's coming into the league and he doesn't know what he's dealing with when they're on the mound. I think the shortcoming is going to be understanding and knowing the league. But with all of the information that there is now from club to club, I think that may not even be that much of a challenge for him as well. So, I mean, we're in the age of analytics, and these guys, they require the catchers to do a lot of studying, to watch a lot of video, and to look at the information that's given. And so I think that it could work out perfectly fine for Murphy and for Austin Allen.
The A's have always had spurts of starting rotations that are just phenomenal. And I guess, maybe the biggest, most recent one was the big three of Zito, Hudson, and Mulder, but I'll take it back to the late 80s, early 90s, you and Mike Moore and Bob Welch. But, I mean, I'm looking at the projected rotation for this upcoming season with those names I just mentioned. You got the veteran presence of a Mike Fiers and a Chris Bassett who's been budding for the last couple of years. And it's a shame we didn't get to see Frankie all of last season because of the suspension. And Sean Minaya continues to take steps. And add in Puck and Luzardo to that. Stu, my goodness, the pitching rotation has been a question, I'd say, going into each of the last couple of years. I mean, this time around, there's no question if really that's the group we're looking at, I think.
Well, what David Force and Billy have done is they've resisted going out and making deals that would deplete their young pitching. They've stayed pretty much with the recipe that's made them successful throughout the years, which is to bring these young pitchers in, watch them grow in the minor leagues, watch their maturity, and then, year by year, put one guy in the rotation, put another guy in the rotation, and put another man in the rotation. Then all of a sudden, you've got pitching depth at the major league level. And I think, Brody, you're right. The time has come now where the A's have big pitching depth at the major league level with their starting rotation. They could possibly be the best all-around five-man rotation, young five-man rotation in all of baseball.
Yeah. Well, they easily have five, and I threw in the name Bassett because I feel like you're always going to need, injury-wise and this and that. You're always going to need reinforcements, and he is an easy reinforcement. He could easily be one of the five.
Bassett, I was about to say, he could easily compete.
Yeah.
With everybody else in that rotation.
Absolutely.
He's not the big name because everybody's been waiting for the pucks. The Luzardo
Right.
and Manaea has already been in the big leagues and thrown, a no-hitter. And then Fires this year carried that rotation and was the anchor in that staff. Yep. So, and then when you look at Frankie Montas, who was off to the type of year that he had last year, and then to finish the year the way he did last year, he's going to be huge in that rotation as well. So, competition is good, especially when it makes your starting rotation a better rotation.
All right, a couple more things here, Stu. Marcus Semien, obviously last year of arbitration, and whatever the A's do with Marcus, do you feel like that'll be an indicator of what else happens with other players, right? So if they turn around tomorrow and say, Marcus, here's a big deal, he signs it, he loves it, great. Does that mean everybody else falls into place? Or let's say they don't do a deal with Marcus in the next couple of weeks or months. Does it mean anything what they do with him?
Well, I think it would be a great signing if they could get that deal done.
Yeah.
Now, I know that the organization has tried to work out something with Chapman. Chapman is difficult. He's got a difficult agent. He's got Scott Boras. Olsen, I know that they've tried to work out something with him. So, you could possibly get Marcus done. If you can get that deal done, it is definitely a message that you're trying to maintain, in my opinion, one of the anchors of your baseball team.
Right.
Now, if Olsen falls in line behind that, I think it puts pressure on Chapman to try to get something done as well, if indeed he wants to stay with the nucleus of this club. But I do believe that if you can get Marcus done, I think that's a great sign for the organization. Trying to keep their players here, you're trying to also keep a homegrown guy in Oakland.
Yeah, I know we're all pulling for it to happen, but no sign of it, either way, and what's actually going to happen.
He's had a change in representation too with the Wasserman Group. Adam Katz, and Adam is a great agent. He's been in the business for a long time, but Adam is what I do know about him is he's one of those guys that if the deal is the right deal, he will make a deal.
It's crazy because all of this is business, and I feel like none of it is personal. Like if you ask Marcus, all things business considered, do you just want to be here? Absolutely. Like the A's probably feel the same way about him. So it's weird. It's such a business situation, but personally, there's no question, I think, what everybody wants, and everybody be on the same page.
Yeah, but it also, I can say this personally because I had to look at my options when I played in Oakland. If you want to be at home, it can be about business. But
right.
If it's all about business, then you won't stay at home.
Yeah.
If you want to have some business and make great money, but also have the conveniences of being at home and playing in front of the crowd and playing in front of people that you've grown up around, you're gonna have to have a little bit of wiggle room to get a deal done. It can't be all business and expect that you're going to be able to stay in Oakland, especially knowing the financial structure of the organization.
Yep. Hey, I just want everybody happy, so I can be happy.
No lie.
And happy
It'd be great. It'd be great. I mean, this is the makings of a team that could be in contention for a long time if you can keep all the parties together.
I wanted to ask you about this 3-batter minimum rule, which Major League Baseball looks like they're going to start enforcing. Right? You know about it. You come in, you can't just face one guy as a lefty and then you're out of the game. You got to come in and face 3 batters minimum. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that there are going to be a whole lot of people that aren't going to be real happy.
I know at least 30 managers that are going to be very unhappy with that.
There are going to be a lot of people that aren't happy. I mean, I remember being in the GM's meeting that this rule was conceived by Theo Epstein. Actually, I remember when he brought it out in the general managers meetings, and I at that time was thinking, man, I can't believe that they would even consider this. The problem with baseball is you're trying to speed up the game, but at the same time you want excitement in the game. Pitching changes are not what slow the game up. That's not what slows the game up. And I still strongly believe that if you want to speed the game of baseball up, then you've got to open up the strike zone and call it the proper strike zone.
Yeah.
From the letters to the knees.
Right.
And if you do that, I think that the game's going to speed up. That, in my opinion, is the way to speed up the game. So going back to the original topic, when you're talking about taking a guy, bringing a guy in and him having to face 3 hitters or get 3 outs, I think that that's going to be difficult. Eventually, you're going to see that that's going to be tough on a lot of teams.
Yeah. No, and I struggle with it because I'm up for reasonable things that'll keep the pace going. And trust me, sometimes when I see 3 pitching changes in 1 inning, you know how it goes when you're waiting to do your post-game show. Come on, get it over with. But I also understand the other side of that. All right, last thing. Speaking of the A's and pitching changes, the bullpen seems like it's going to come with some questions, and we know that Blake Trinan was non-tendered and Trevino's out there still. And Liam Hendriks, who would have thought? Who would have thought in such a great way this season that he just had? It's funny how the bullpen and the rotation for the A's have kind of traded places a little bit, because maybe that's where the questions are this year.
Well, in my opinion, this will be the season when we go in, and this will be the season that we start, or going into the season, I should say, where for the first time the bullpen is not the strength of this organization. The bullpen has been the strength of the organization for the last 2-3 years. They've gone into the season knowing that their bullpen is solid and that they can depend on it. This year, I'd love to say that Liam Hendriks is going to be the closer that he was last year. But let's face it, last year was the first time that he's ever really done it. And you've got Petit back, who he's been dependable. He's been one of the anchors in that staff, but you also have to look at the fact that he's thrown a lot of innings down there over the last 3 years. I can say this, Diekman, they signed him to 2 years. Diekman for me was flip of the coin. One day you know what you're going to get, the next day you don't know. So I don't know that was that great of a sign to help stabilize the pen. You're going to have some options. I mean, you look at the guys that will probably compete from their minor league system, which they had some guys at their AAA level that were some pretty good bullpen options. And when we've gone into the season, as Billy has shown and David Force have shown, they've not been afraid to pull the trigger on signing a free agent reliever. So, I think we have to leave court open in the fact that they will probably go out and make some moves to the bullpen, because their rotation, as we've said, their starting rotation is solid now.
Yeah.
I think that the rotation becomes a strength. And mixing and matching and mending the shortages in the bullpen, I think they'll be able to do that.